Okay, good morning, everybody, for Sunday, the 9th of April. Happy Easter Sunday and all of that. Hope you've got plenty of chocolate and whatever. Right, so it looks like you've had a good few days whilst I've been on my weekend. Unfortunately, though, today is probably the last of those good days because as you look into the Atlantic there's a deepening area of low pressure, low 960 over Iceland, which for spring is quite deep. And over the next few days, that's going to start sort of winging its way towards us. And by Wednesday, it does look like we could have a named storm over the UK. So I think if you're going to fly today, then do make sure at the end of it you de-rig. Even potentially if you're in our long-term parking area and you're just watching this and not planning to fly, I would strongly suggest you consider de-rigging because we may see gusts of 50 knots on Wednesday. There's discussions about. So what have we got today? Well, the high is starting to weaken. There's a few fronts just lying about. There's going to be probably a fair amount of upper level cloud today, but we first will start off with a lot of moisture. Obviously the ground is damp, so we get fog, and this is our first headache of the day, which is going to take a little while to clear. Second headache of the day is that we are starting to pick up a more southerly flow that will change as the Atlantic fronts start to get here tomorrow, but it does look like we are introducing more south in the wind, which obviously is a little bit harder for us to operate at Lasham. As you can see on here, that's the reason why, because it does look like between during the day, middle part of the day, we are going to get sort of a 20 knots southerly or south-southeasterly. I'll come on to that a bit later. Satellite picture of the UK shows a lot of fog over the home counties and out into the Cotswolds. A bit brighter on the coasts and up into the Midlands, but as you can see, Yorkshire's copping it as well currently. And this big band of cloud moving in from our west is the Atlantic weather, which is no doubt going to cause us a bit of a pain. Outside of that, there's probably a fair amount of high-level cirrus, which is heading our way too. So public forecast today is indicating 13 degrees being the top temperature. A reasonably bright start after the fog lifts. I would caution that with hazy sunshine, if I'm honest. And as you can see, that wind starting off that southeasterly, becoming southerly during the day, thankfully backing again to southeasterly towards the end of the day. So yeah, if we do have to change runways, then we're not going to have to change very far. GFS is showing 13 to 14 degrees. It has felt very spring-like, I must say. And dew points down to around 4 degrees in isolated spots, maybe 5 or 6 where we are. Currently, the picture outside is very foggy and not looking particularly good, but that should continue to improve during the day. And we currently have a top temperature of 6 degrees on the airfield and a dew point of 4, but I think the dew point's probably under reading a bit, given the fact we have fog. Farnborough currently reporting 100% humidity, which is no surprise, visibility of 2,500 metres and 200 feet in overcast. Shows by 11 o'clock we should have scattered at 3,500 feet, so this will break, lift, and probably eventually trigger as cumulus. So onto your soaring forecast for today then, and I'll just check that we've got a working top meteos. It's being a bit slow this morning, and let's have a look. Nope, might have to just put you on the other one. 1 second. Right, let's move you on to the other one. Right, so for today then, that is your potential flight distance. As you can see, with a southerly at Lasham, the old saying goes, wind from the south, beer to the mouth. Now, it might be good to start with, but yeah, the air gets drawn off the coast and comes inland eventually over us. So let's just see when it thinks it's going to lift. Let's see if it actually does understand the idea of fog, which it sort of does. So that's about where we are now with bits of blue and bits of fog. As we go through to probably around lunchtime, it says blue to shallow Q, hopefully more on the Q variety, in our area up to around 3,500 feet. And as you can see, that'll go more blue in this area as the day goes on. Into the Midlands and Oxfordshire, then we're looking it probably at 3,500 to 4,000 feet, but that's probably your best bet. And what's that? This is 4 o'clock, and Lasham is rapidly becoming unsoarable, as would be expected from this wind direction. And yeah, by 5 o'clock, no thermals at all, pretty much south of the M4 corridor. Let's just put the cloud amounts on that as well. So yeah, you can see that increasing level top cover moving in from the west, and spattering of Q during the day, but that Q reducing as we go through the day. And yeah, looking blue by mid-afternoon, and rapidly getting much weaker. So start time then probably looking around lunchtime, and maybe a sort of 3-hour window or so before it gets mucky again. Looking at your site forecasts for this part of the country, then today we are having 2 knot thermals up to 3,500 feet. It's going to take probably some of the morning for this cloud to clear, with a top temperature of around 14 degrees. Dew point of 5. Ignore the wind directions on here; they always predict it to be slightly more veered than it suggests. But yeah. Reasonable for a couple of hours, but not quite what we've had over the last couple of days. We'll just look up a bit more inland. Let's have a look and see if we can get something for Benson. Right, Benson's looking slightly better with some taller Q, slightly earlier clearance of this weather as well, and again up to 3,500 feet and slightly faster cross-country speeds. And that's showing slightly higher temperatures too. So yeah, definitely head north and have enough height to then come back into this increasingly strong southerly. But I imagine some might want to stay a bit closer unless you have a turbo. So yeah, I think to sum up today, tricky with the winds, and increasingly more blue as the day goes on and weaker. Airspace then for today, we're active with intense gliding. That's been quite useful actually. I think it's kept most of the puddle jumpers away from trying to fly into the winch cable. And looking further elsewhere, a few paragliding NOTAMs. 21 is the one that Colin's been talking about all weekend, which is the parachute area we're watching, and we understand they're doing a lift every hour in a helicopter. 119,450 if you're flying in that area. Benson aren't generally that active with controllers on a weekend, but there's probably going to be grog tutors and stuff flying around from there. As we look slightly to our west, 23 looks like South Cerney paragliding going on there, and to our extreme west into the Salisbury Plain, you have the yeah, it's unusual actually to have the Lark Hill danger areas. The Salisbury Plain is active today, up to 23,000 feet in a number of parts, and to the west of that, 17 is Imbers active too, so pretty much avoid the Salisbury Plain danger areas. 13 and 11 being paragliders operating sort of west of the Salisbury Plain ranges. So yeah, with those NOTAMs in mind, it's not actually too much to think about. Right, so a bit tricky then with wind, and I can almost guarantee we're going to have to change runways at some point. We'll start off on 09 with the winch, something like that, out to our panhandle, and we'll aerotow from the runway to the east on 09. So that's easy, land on the grass, left and right hand circuits. I don't think there's going to be so many of you today, so we're going to operate standard launch point setup with a bit of a queue, and we'll have at least 3 tugs with a bit of luck to get you going. But at some points we are going to have to change to 1.6. I'm almost certain of that. And 1.6 is not a particularly nice direction for us to operate. Winching down the eastern side of the runway, aerotowing from here. My suggestion is, when we do change to this, because I can almost see it, is that all of you returning come and land on the as far east as possible. Keep yourself away from the winch front, because that's just going to be making my life a lot easier and stopping the any issues with launches. So yeah, coming around onto there. On this configuration, no beat ups on the north of the airfield, please. It just conflicts with the circuit traffic because you're going to all be at the same height. So no comp finishes in that setup. 09, don't mind, but for 27. When we are in this operation as well, though you probably can land short and stop up here, I don't really want to see that happening down here because it's very easy to sort of run over everybody at the launch point, which is going to be here today. So yeah, just a bit of sensibility. Just have that in your mind if you're coming back. I would imagine after lunchtime we'll switch to this direction because we can't actually launch so many gliders in this way. So if we can start on 09 and accept a bit of crosswind and then swap, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. So I think that's all I've got to say. The final thing, as I said, is on Wednesday we're looking at a big storm coming through, lots of wind. So do make sure you put your gliders into your trailers and don't let them blow around for Colin and I to sort around on Wednesday. It's not particularly fun trying to tie down gliders which are about to lift off. So yes, enjoy. I'll see you on the airfield. Bye.